Credit transfer. So what is credit transfer? So credit transfers allow you to receive credit for your prior post-secondary academic studies. So if you've taken other college or university courses. It's just important to note that high school courses are not eligible for credit transfer with the exception of dual credit courses. And I also just want to mention that credit transfers are also often referred to as exemptions. So they mean the same thing and we use both terms at Algonquin. So just be aware that you might see credit transfer, you might see exemption, but they both refer to the same service. So first, I just want to walk you through two different kinds of credit transfers that you might be interested in applying for. So one is a credit transfer for a core course, which just means a mandatory course in your Algonquin College program. Most courses that you take at Algonquin are going to be core courses, but you might also be interested in applying for a credit transfer for your general education elective requirement. These are also often referred to as Gen Eds. And all Gen Eds are required courses outside of your regular program of study that cover general interest topics. So the amount of general education electives that you need to take in your program, it always depends on what kind of credential you're seeking, but usually you're required to take either one or two of them, and you can find out for sure on your program webpage under the courses section. So Gen Ed courses fall under 5 general interest themes as listed on this slide. And if any of your previous studies might fall under these categories, you can apply for a credit transfer for your Gen Ed requirement rather than completing the course as usual. It's also important to note though that not all themes are going to apply to every program of study. So before you apply, you just want to confirm that the theme that you're applying for is eligible to your program of study, which again, you can find out through your program webpage. So the next question you might have is whether or not you are eligible for a credit transfer. So in order to be eligible for a credit transfer, you need to have completed at least one course at a recognized post-secondary institution. So again, like a college or a university, and that course should seem similar to an Algonquin College course that you're taking. You need to have passed that course with a minimum grade of C or 63%. You need to be able to provide an official transcript from your previous institution, as well as a course outline for the course that you took previously. And excuse me, sorry, that should be a detailed official syllabus that includes things like the hours in the course and the course grading scheme. And it needs to be provided as a PDF document. And then finally, you need to have completed the course within the last 5 years. That said, there are some exceptions to that rule. So for example, general education electives are not subject to any kind of time restriction, and some communications and math courses might not time out either. It's just always at the discretion of the academic area. And then similarly for any of the other courses, program coordinators can waive that limit at their discretion. One more important thing is just that there is a fee for credit transfer. So you're charged $10 per course that you apply for, up to a maximum of $50. So the actual process of applying for a credit transfer is pretty straightforward, and we've kind of touched on it just in the last 2 slides, but we'll break it down in detail here. So the very first step is that you'll need to determine whether you're applying for an internal or an external credit transfer, because they require slightly different documents. So if your studies were at another institution, you'll need an external credit transfer. And if your studies were at Algonquin, like if you started at a different Algonquin College program, you would apply for an internal credit transfer. And then next, as we discussed before, you'll prepare your credit transfer documents. So for an external credit transfer, you would need a PDF copy of your transcript and a PDF copy of the course outline from the other school that you attended. And if you're applying for an internal credit transfer, you actually won't need either of these documents because Algonquin would already have them on file. Once you've gathered any documents that you need, it's time to actually apply for the credit transfer. So that's all done through your student information account, which at Algonquin is called Access. So you'll log into your Access account and you'll see a very long column running down the left side of the screen that we've taken a little screenshot of here. So there's going to be a huge column, and then at the very bottom or close to, you're going to hit an option that says transfer of credit or exemption. So this form is pretty straightforward. It'll just have you fill it in with like different course codes and upload the required documents. You'll pay your fee and send in the request. We do also have some videos set up just in case you find once you're in Access, you're a little bit at a loss about what the steps are. And those videos are available through the websites that we'll show you links to later on in the presentation. But so once you get your Access application in, the next step will be to monitor your email. So you'll get an email right away after you submit the form, just indicating that your credit transfer request is in process. And then you'll also get an email once your application has been approved or denied, which usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks. In the meantime, if you're currently taking that class, we recommend that you keep attending it until you hear back, just in case your credit transfer is denied. And then finally, if your request is approved, you might want to reach out to your program coordinator to see if they can help you adjust your schedule and possibly slot another course into the gap that has been created by your exempted course. So that's not at all necessary. If you just want to have the 3 hours back each week that you get from that gap in your schedule, go for it. But I will just say that if it's an early semester in your program, you might consider reaching ahead if it's possible so that you have more time to focus on the kind of heavy lifting courses that are going to show up in maybe the 3rd or 4th level of your program. So that's one option that you have. And then alternately, if you're an OSAP recipient or you find that the approved exemption would bump you down to part-time status, there could be implications to your OSAP funding. So you might actually need to fill that gap potentially. For most programs, a full-time load would be considered 4 or more courses, and a part-time load would be between 1 and 3 courses, but it does vary by program. So if you are on OSAP, it's a good thing to chat with either your program coordinator or your financial aid officer about, just to understand the implications to your funding potentially. And I'll just also add that the earlier that you broach this, usually the better the outcome if you are looking to fill a gap in your schedule, just because the further into the semester that we get, the less flexibility there can be to shift classes around.